Second or two to pop up.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been blown away by the consistent support. I mean, 95 followers now.
Dude, that's a lot. Like,
Yeah,
that's
dude,
good
that's
shit.
crazy. All right, got the link for that. Now time to update all these posts. It's funny. I make these posts pretty decently intricate, and I try to
Yeah.
do my best to make it so they're like accessible for people. And then like 9 out of 10 people don't even know that I put the link in all of the posts.
Go figure.
Yeah, it
Really
happens.
surprised me. I'm gonna tell you, it took me like 5 minutes to figure out exactly which video to send you.
Oh yeah.
Because all the ones I keep are generally like throwaway clips
Right. Yeah.
that like I just didn't delete off of my phone.
Well, usually because they have something like very slightly that you like about them, and you want to
Yep.
like go back on it and kind of take from it, but you
Yeah,
never
exactly.
do because they're always just sitting in your phone.
Yep,
Yeah, I do this a
exactly.
lot. I do this a lot.
Like I really like the intro on that video I sent you. Like that was the whole beginning of like the intro
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then I liked nothing else about the show. So I was like, I have to not post that.
Oh man, I feel the pain. I feel the pain. That's what I've been using for all of these clips though, is I'm just like taking pieces of all my throwaway shows.
All right, let's see.
All right, I think
Be
we
live.
are in full swing now. Uh, woo, freebie. What is up, boy? Hi, babe. How you doing? All right, so
Oh, freebie. What's up, buddy?
for anyone that is watching this as a video, welcome to the Stable Hotline. I am here with Hypnotoad, otherwise known as Chris. Please introduce yourself, brother.
All right, well, my name's Chris, or Hypnotoad. Rep PLL, Lantern Society, Fat. Started gloving in February of 2010. Um, been at it for a while, and now I'm just an old head who likes to kick it, lurk the lounge.
A true OG, some would say.
Oh, some would beg to differ severely. Even myself, I have been around a while, but a true OG would be like 2000, 8, 9, 2007, all those schools that really brought gloving to the forefront for all of us to be able to do this thing. Those are who would be the true OGs. I'm just an old head.
Right. Okay. So, um, if you could drop some names of those people, who would they be? So anyone can kind of look them up for our people who are a bit newer.
Oh man, I mean that list is long, but I mean you got like MLG influenza. That dude was like he's one of the, I think he was the first recorded finger show. If I
Okay.
remember. You've got like PM Grey Goose. You've got Mystic from Lords. You've got Furion. You've got I mean there's just so many like Sire. I mean even people that were still kind of relatively new to when I started. Oh, big shout outs to PLL Loki. That fool is a
Ooh.
true OG. Been
Oh
around for so
yes.
it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Um, dude, there's just so many names that like brain wreck, dude, nasty. Like it's just that list is so long and um, just insane. Icarus from AO.
Ooh.
Can't forget about the threading master.
Oh
Um,
man.
that dude is insane and still is like I was talking to him a bit last year with like Mumbles. And dude, that dude is still nasty. Like he's still
Oh
got,
yeah. Oh yeah.
like, it's just, that list is so long. Like Turtle from Vivid, um, Turtle's nasty, Wongtong, like
Oh yeah.
straight up, just like those were the people that were the big, heavy, crazy hitters when I started in 2010 that just like really paved the way and set things up for literally everything we do, like everything. So, um, definitely really important to know where you came from.
Yeah.
Um, Loving, there's a lot of history there that a lot of people don't know about, and don't necessarily realize is there. Um, that really important to look at. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I personally like to do, especially in like shows. I mean, we're almost exclusively in shows I don't record,
Yeah.
um, that are old concepts, like old, that
Mm.
nobody does anymore that look new because
Okay, yeah.
it came from so long ago that nobody really keeps up on it,
Yeah.
that it looks new and it still looks cool. It's all stuff that you can put your own twist on and adjust and modernize, and be able to create off of. And it may look like hand waving to like a lot of the like newer, people just coming in, but it's like it in person. That stuff really was really trail heavy. Like
Oh yeah, there's a reason for it all. I mean, it
ribbons was
has a
like,
certain effect.
oh yeah, dude, ribbons was like, or dash stops and like, ribbon dashes and stuff like that, or tracers. Like, there's a whole reason for that. People didn't really use like hyperstrobe or, um, stuff like that unless they were impacting.
Yeah.
So it's like having that reason behind everything is key, and understanding flow, in my opinion, like that early flow where the show looked like it never stopped moving is just really important to how you, in essence, in my opinion, is how you build a light show. Like tech is great and all of that like new shit that is phenomenal and I love it. Like I can't really think of things that are hindering loving in fact of like innovating concepts, but,
Right.
a lot of people, especially some newer people, could be hindered by the fact that they don't really, um, look at the past and look how like flow concepts were put together and look at how like your basic stacking concept could look so sick if executed right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like just like the right amount of emphasis and like the amount of emphasis and animation and stuff like that that those guys had, like, it's just nuts. Like they made things look so crazy and so cool just by speed variation or accentuation or small pauses or, just really basic stuff that I feel like it's easy to lose touch with if you're
Yeah.
too concentrated on making things look complicated. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's just that's why, like, to me, like loving history and understanding where this all started from and understanding who, like the big three or four, like five teams that originally like really brought stuff out in Cali, um, really paved the way for everybody. Like gloving, there was a small gloving scene here in Phoenix in like 2008, 2009, like 2010, but those people had brought it back from like Cali when they went to go to a music festival and stuff like that. Like, um, California is the one that really like pushed all of that, you
S-
know?
Sprouted that
Um,
seed for sure.
yep. Especially like the Mystics and the dudes that started, like Jerry. Oh, dude. Like Jerry, like the founder of PLL, like, and like Mystic, the founder of Lords, and like all like the fools that founded these teams, like Vivid and PM and Lords and all of that sort of stuff. Like it's those big teams were the reason like things got to be where they're at now. Like,
Pretty much, yeah.
um, so like that's why I think, especially like with a lot of, newer gen, they don't understand like the big three, like the big teams, like the big fans. They don't understand like, the hype around some of them, and it's
Well,
just
yeah. Well, because a lot of people come in with a similar perspective to what I came in with it. And not everyone, because I came in with such a a select perspective, I'll say, considering that I didn't come from the rave scene. But even
Right.
some people that come from the rave scene, I think, still come kind of with this competitive mindset, even from the start. So they see Glovers and they see what is to Glovers considered these big teams, and they see Glovers who maybe they don't consider as that great, and they're like, well, what makes this team so great if they don't have all of the best Glovers? It doesn't make sense to me, right? Because
Yeah.
all of the nuance and the finesse that comes with families and all of the history within gloving is not present to them in that immediate standpoint. And 1 minute, let's check lounge because we got a lot of people talking. Had Duel Links in the lounge. What is up,
Oh shit.
brother? Driving home
I
right now. Wait for me to get home for the dank topics. All right, Mario.
yeah. Lullaby says ice breeze, and dude,
Ooh, wow.
ice breeze nasty, dude. Like that list, like I was saying, like that list of like super like the OGs, like the true OGs, is so long. It's just like it's hard to cover all that ground, like
Oh
for sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think you got a very decent amount of people out there. So, with you being an old head, how did you get into gloving?
All right. So the way I got into gloving, I mean, back then it's the way a lot of people got into gloving. I mean, I was pretty inebriated, right? Just
Naturally.
naturally. And my boy, whose name is Goldfish, like that's the homie. Like he was at this in like 2009, 2010. He doesn't glove anymore, but he's like, "Hey, bro, you want a light show?" Dude, no clue what a light show was. And I was just like, "Yeah, for sure." Dude proceeds to throw like one of the craziest shit I ever seen in my life. But like, I literally was watching it, dude, just so enamored and just like so like lost in the sauce realistically that I looked at that and I was like, what he just did to me, I want to be able to do to other people. Like I
Right.
want to be able to take that and blow somebody's mind. Like I don't dance. Like I'm not like somebody who can like traditionally dance, very outgoing. And luckily for me, with learning how to glove and stuff, it actually really brought me out of like my little shell of
Yeah.
being able to talk to people and do stuff because I didn't actually have to initiate the conversation when somebody wanted a light show. Like back in the day, dude, like roly polies would cover the walls and you just like walk around with gloves on and somebody would like stop you and go like this and you just knew like, all right, cool, dope. Like, dude, like 2000, like 9, 2010, 2011, dude, like straight up, you could easily give like 30 to 40 shows a night if you had the energy for it. Like people just were that into it.
Oh yeah.
Um, dude, like it was crazy. Like it was a great time, dude, for like to be a glover and to want to like get better and meet people and do something and express yourself in a way like you can't dance or do shit like that.
It
Like
was probably
being
the purest experience you could have gotten as a glover, right? There
oh
was no judgment, no external factors weighing in on you. There's no Glover Lounge telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing concept wise. You just went out and you just fucking ripped people apart and you're just living it up and
yeah,
doing your
dude,
own thing.
those roly polies, dude, always give you the most pure reactions. Like
Yeah.
the most pure reactions. I will say though, I knew I was hooked on gloving and like was gonna keep doing it for a long time. When I went to Fresh Anniversary 2010, this dude in the bleachers when Global DJs was playing came up, stopped me. He's like, "Hey, like my friend's, jacked up. He wants a light show." I start giving this dude a light show, and I like knocked him out. Like, dude's eyes roll back, and he just limp, done. And I was like, had to like slap him on the face a little bit. He came back too, and I was like, all right, like I want to do this for a long time, and I want to get good at it. Um, so like that's when I knew, and like that was one of the highlights for sure.
That's awesome. That's fucking great.
We had to work like really pure. I mean, you still had like PM was still around, like Lords, PLL, Vivid, like AO. Those guys were all in like full effect out of those. And like, I'll tell you from personal experience, dude, if you were not good or they didn't know who you were, like you weren't getting a trade. Like
Yeah.
you weren't trading with that person like at all. Like they would look at you and be like, "Who are you? Like I don't know you. Like no, I'm not trading with you." Like so you like it was a definitely different experience back then. Like
Yeah.
for sure, but not in a bad way. That sort of stuff, depending on who you are, can really either motivate you
Yeah.
and want to get good enough to be like that guy's gonna trade with me one day,
Yeah.
or it's gonna break you and you're gonna be like, you know what, nah,
This
whatever,
isn't
like
for me. That's bullshit. They're assholes.
shit,
Like,
you should want to trade with me, like blah blah blah, like I'm good, like no, you had to like be tough, like you had to take it on the chin and either get better or not ever trade with that person, and it really just kind of depended on how you looked at it.
yeah, definitely. You could either start your grudge then or build your relationship.
Yep, exactly. And I'll tell you, dude, like J Bake, for example, that dude's my boy. Like I've known that dude for a long time. But I asked him at an event if he wanted to trade, and he looked at me like I was dumb. Like he looked at me like I was dumb, and because he didn't know me. But
Yeah.
got to kick it like at my boy's house a couple times, and dude, and, like we got close, and like that's the homie, like for sure. So like it's just you can't let that shit like get to you. Like you gotta either take it or let it break you. I mean, it's the way it is.
I mean, yeah, if you're gonna let it really get to you, then maybe gloving isn't for you.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, it's okay to not be into things as much as you think you are, right?
Oh
there
yeah.
there are plenty of times that we go about and you try something and you think it's going to be great and it's not exactly what you think it is. And I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves, especially when you start to tell other people about it, like, oh, I'm going to start doing this thing, blah blah blah, and then you don't follow through on it, and then you start to feel real bad, right? Like you're failing yourself. But it's
Yeah.
okay to not be into things that you think you want to be into.
Oh, yeah, dude, it happens all the time. Like, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, there's tons of stuff I thought I would be into that I started doing that I just gave up on because I wasn't as into it as I thought I would be.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just human nature, and that's okay. But don't like if you're not as into it as you are, and like somebody doesn't want to trade with you, and you feel like you don't want to glove anymore after that. Like, don't take that as like, oh, I'm quitting because of this person. Like, we'll take that as like, well, I
Yeah.
don't really like that to like. You got to really look at yourself like, oh, well, I guess I just don't like this as much as I thought. If
This
I'm
isn't
ready to give up that easily,
yeah, this isn't as worth it to me.
yeah,
I'm willing to throw it away at this point. So like, is it worth me putting more time into this if I think that it's gonna result in me just being more upset?
yeah. Oh, and then oh yeah, so I'm looking here. Lala was saying,
I think
I think I just wanted to party with the homies and trade. I know that was a big thing back then, which is totally true. That's why they would kind of look at you be like,
who the
I'm
fuck are
not.
you? You're
Not
not
even
my
like
homie.
yeah, like you're not the homie. Like I'm here to kick it with the homies. Which again, it's all about perspective. Like looking back on it now, especially with that point that he made, like looking at back then, I was like, oh, like he doesn't know who the fuck I am. Like he doesn't want to trade with me. But knowing what I know now and kicking it with all these fools, like in person and everything, like I know that it was. I want to kick it with the homies. Like I don't really know you, so like but like at a music event, you're not going to sit there and explain that versus like say like
Yeah, of
4KC
course.
where
I
you're
mean,
like, oh, like I'm really just trying to kick it with the homies. You're gonna be like, oh no, like I ain't trying to trade and like go back to kicking it with your homies.
yeah, you're not
Um,
gonna like fucking yell in
you don't
someone's
have to explain
ear.
yourself. You need to,
Yeah.
for sure. So I mean, it's definitely a matter of perspective and like also ego. Like if you're new and you feel like you're hot shit and somebody tells you no, I don't want to trade, like that will probably hurt your ego a little bit, but um, you definitely got to check yourself on that.
Yeah, you too. I know I was one of those people trying to trade with Mystic and he turned me down a few times. See, look at that, bro. A legend like Lullaby being turned down for a trade. And, everyone starts from that position, right? We all start from no one knows you, you have no respect, you have no skill, there's no one that can look at you and be like, oh, yeah, I know that guy. I can vouch for how good he is and what he knows.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you're their homie, like you don't even have to be that good.
Nah,
Like if you're homies, like people will trade with you. Like
yeah.
it's just you got to be willing to get to know people outside of a hey, I just want to trade a light show, or hey, like you seem dope, like I want to get to know you, like kind of deal, you know?
And it needs to be kind of in a manner that isn't, I'm using this light show as a way to interject myself into your life, right? Because there are a lot of people
Yeah,
that try to kind of use that as their caveat to becoming friends with you, and like, yeah, I glove, but that is not my personality as an
yeah. I am
entire
a
human.
glover. Gloving is not who I am.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, no, I've literally watched that happen like so many times. Like it's ridiculous. Where people just think like, oh, because we're glove, like we're automatically going to be cool, and
or
that's
we
just
have this
not.
in common, so we're
Yeah,
bros.
that's a good starting ground.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like, if all you care about is throwing light shows when you're hanging out with that person, then you're not out there to be their friend. Like you're out there to just get better or use them for their knowledge to make like be your jumping off point.
yeah.
And dude, like people will call you out quick on that shit too. Like they straight know. Like if you don't seem genuine, or if you seem like all you want to do is just trade and like get to know somebody because they're a well-known glover, or they're on this fam or that fam, like
It's
they're
easy to
gonna know
see.
quick. Like
It's
they are
so
not gonna
easy.
like they're not gonna hit you up outside of that. Like yeah, you're gonna trade that one time, but you aren't gonna be homies like in that aspect. So um yeah, it's definitely like interesting looking at things the way they've progressed and what things change and like what things stay the same. Um, and inside the scene and like the thing where people like use light shows to try to become your friend and like that's the only thing they want to have in common with you is like or to be like, oh, I know Vex, like I've traded with Vex, like me and Vex have kicked it, like you know what I mean, like that thing is that trend has stayed the same since forever, like that has never gone away. Um, but like watching other things like slowly disappear where like the time when people wanted to get on like those skill tags like wave
Oh
fam
man,
and wrist roller gang and like
what a good
all those
time.
like the time from like that to now where people are just like I want to be kind of a jack of all trades but nobody really wants to delve in and be a master of like stuff.
Yeah, it's a
You'll
jack of all
you'll
trades,
catch
master
some
of
of that.
none.
Yeah, you'll catch some people that really want that, like Pretzel, who's crazy with the tuts, or like, stuff like that. Like people that really still want to do wave tuts, like me, dude. Stormtrooper was my biggest inspiration for wave tut, and like that dude was the reason I was like, I want to be on wave tut fam.
Yeah, dude.
I want to get good at wave tuts because I want to be on wave tut fam because wave tuts are the shit. Um, like so it's just weird watching things change and like you were talking about in your last stream with RJ there, how like the some of the newer gens feel almost gate kept out of those teams.
Yeah.
But to me, like it's not gatekeeping in my eyes. Uh, it's like a lack of they don't. It's a lack of confidence in themselves and a lack of motivation to get good enough to be on the same team as those guys.
Yeah, I can
So they're
agree.
not really trying to gatekeep you out. They just want you to earn it. Like they're not just going to let anyone who can kind of do liquid onto wet or anyone who can kind of tut onto TM or stuff like that. It's not necessarily they want to gatekeep you in a bad way. They just want to raise you up to the level where you've earned something.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I think in those situations, right? uh, the reality of the situation is a lot of those teams are even willing to take people who are not masters, like, right,
Right.
when we add people to TM or when we add people to CC, it's not because they're already throwing the most insane thing we've seen in our entire life. It's more or less just because they've interested us and they show that they're dedicated. And once that is clear and established, you'll more than likely be put on the team. And I can agree with what you're saying about the idea that there isn't necessarily gatekeeping, and really it's more about your own confidence level and ability to kind of step up to the plate and be like, hey, look, I want to be on this team. Notice me. And because
Yeah,
that's really is what it takes, right? You have to step out and put your left foot out, do the hokey pokey, and say that you want to be on the fucking team. Uh, and if you don't do that, then closed mouth doesn't get fed, right?
absolutely. And the last thing these teams want to do, especially with the prestige and the following and the level of notoriety that a lot of them have, is to put someone on too quickly who's really like who is good and maybe good enough to be on, but is is just going to fade away in the next 6 months
Right. I mean, you
or whatever.
essentially.
You have to show that dedication. So yeah, they are kind of gatekeeping, but it's not in a bad way to try to discourage
I
people. They actually are helping to encourage people with the hype that they have. Like it's hard to get on that team. I want to be on that team is what they're going for, not like, oh, it's those guys are insane. Like I'll never be a part of them. Let me go start water or N2O or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I think some of the gatekeeping comes not necessarily with any particular action that anyone's making on these specific teams. It's more or less just the team itself, right? These teams start to become. It's the same mental gatekeeping that stops people from getting into the NFL or the NBA or something like that, right? You see a team like the Lakers and you're like, holy shit, this team has got a bunch of good players on it and they play professionally, and like, what is my chance of getting on that team? And when you start to have these teams that are an amalgamation of Glovers with such accolades that people recognize them immediately, it starts to impose this almost uh, impending feeling that I know that they don't sorry that they don't
you're
have
good.
a chance of ever getting on the team, even if they put in the work, because it seems like, oh, I have to already be that good to get on the team, because at
Yeah,
right now, especially in gloving at this point, the people who are on these teams, they've been on the teams for years. Like, we haven't added people recently, so it's not like they can turn to someone and be like, "Oh, this person's kind of like me. They're not exactly the best, but they still got a prospect or they still got a chance to be on the team." And that's happened now recently with CC, but that was
yeah.
kind of a dead thing for a year or two.
I, I'm not on CC, so I can't, obviously I can't speak on that. It being dead part, it didn't seem dead because the people
Well,
that were on it were
no,
still active.
no, I just
Um,
meant adding people became
oh
dead.
yeah,
The act of adding people.
yeah. I mean, that's going to be a thing. You're definitely right as far as like people tend to gatekeep themselves more than any team is actually going to gatekeep them.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's definitely a mentality that I'd like to see a lot of people get over and really start shooting for stuff like. I mean, and even if a team seems dead to you, like if you want it, dude, like bring it, like
Bring
hit
it
up the
back,
team,
bro.
like straight up hit like wave tuts.
Yeah.
If people want it back really bad, I know I did this personally. I hit up the wave tut page and I straight up was like, I want WTF to come back. I want wave tut fan to come back. Like, and I
I am
started
too.
posting wave tut Friday videos. Like, Like you've got like if you want something bad enough, you'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I personally think it's in bad taste to take a team that already exists
And
and make
remake it.
a watered down version of it of your own, trying to validate yourself almost in a way. And I don't mean that in a bad way because you're obviously dedicated to a concept enough to want to make a team based around it.
Yeah.
But if that team's still active, like Wet, for example, and you go out and you start a team called Water just to be on a liquid based team, you're just doing yourself a disservice in that fact for not trying to work a little bit harder to get good enough to be on Wet. Like you're only hurting yourself when you go and create a I don't want to say a subpar team because some of those teams have dope people on them,
Yeah,
but you're not.
absolutely.
But you're doing yourself and those people that are going to be on that team with you a big disservice. Instead of pushing each other to get better to get to that Wet status, you're going to kind of settle to be down here because you're with people that you like and
Right.
that you relate to and are close to.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so I
Um,
really hope people start to take a little bit more pride and motivation and specific concepts definitely to want to be on those teams that have such notoriety and such a high standard that like one day you'll be able to say, yeah, I'm on Wet. Like I'm I'm fucking dope at liquid or I'm
yeah.
fucking sick. Like that's why I'm on there. Like
Yeah, it's super cool to be able to say. And let me just say, bro, let me get the fuck on Wet already. Jesus goddamn Christ. How many times do I have to try out for this goddamn team before y'all let me the fuck on Wet? Oh my god. But for real, it takes more than just skill to get on these types of fam. You make it your own thing. Oh yeah, absolutely. What the fuck comeback? Yeah, dude. Please let's make a what the fuck comeback. I'll do some weight cuts. You're a little. Oh, I'm a little quiet. I'll
Jake,
try to keep.
You can't be on WTF. You're on TM. I got told you can only be on one.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what uh DK told me.
TK, you can't be on what the fuck and TM.
Nah, he said TM or what the fuck. Can't be on both.
That's interesting. I never knew that that was inner.
It'd be like that sometimes,
Ooh.
dude.
No,
It'd be like
yeah,
that.
it does absolutely. That I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I am surprised by it, but it makes sense, right? Like there are definitely teams that have shit like that. I mean, that
You can't
is
be on any of the big three together.
yeah.
Like you
I
know what
mean,
I mean?
I can't be on AO or PM or LOL or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is another topic that a lot of people who are coming into gloving now really don't understand because they don't have that preface of knowledge to understand how the families work and
Yeah.
why certain people are on certain families and why you can't just be on them all.
Definitely something very new to a lot of the newer people, which is definitely something worth talking about because, like, me and Mario and a bunch of other people have talked about it on multiple occasions. Where, like, back in the day, like, there was legit beef, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like legit beef, like straight up, like fights and shit like that, like between fams, like, and it was like, I don't like it was crews, you know what I mean? Like there was legit beef in those crews, but like you couldn't be on like Lords and PLL or PM and what PM and like Vivid or any of that stuff. Like it was very like you're with PM, like nah, like you can't be on both. They were the big fans. They all started around the same time. Like so, you picked one and you stuck with it. That was your ride or die crew. You don't mess with that. Um,
Well, well,
like
there's some people who have made some choices.
well, there's been some that
I think
there's
that
been some people that have made some moves
there was a period of
from one
time
team
where it
to
was a
another.
lot more uh it happened a lot more, right? There are a lot more people like switching
Yeah,
around, hopping.
I mean, and like don't get me wrong. So like there's people that have been on a couple of the different fams, right? But those people like were just they clicked with everyone well enough and had the skill level to fit well enough with each fam, but they didn't really click until they hit one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Surge, for example. I love Surge. That's
Yeah.
my boy. You know, he was on AO.
Yep.
Um, he's on
LOL.
PN. He was a Lord. Like he, you know, he bounced around a little bit and he got along well enough with everyone
Yeah.
to where he could fit into each family, but he didn't quite into AO. He didn't quite fit in as a Lord. And he hit PM and he like that's he
Yeah.
clicks like
Yeah.
that which is great. But yeah, you definitely sharing tags like that is not something that really happens anymore amongst like the new family. Like, well, new families. It depends on who you're talking about, what you're talking about. Um, like to be considered like a legacy fam, like TNT, like you have to drop
Yep.
everything for TNT. Like
Yeah,
you don't get to
that's
be on
wild
another team
style.
for that. Um, and that's something that's not happening as much as anymore. Where you have to drop one tag to be on another. Ha is similar in that aspect. I know. You can't be on Ha and be on like some other fams. Like you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, a lot. You can't be on pretty. Actually, Haas probably another fam that I would put up close to the those top fams. It's
yeah,
one that
you
you have
have
to drop pretty much all
to
the
be
other
on.
tags for.
So yeah, like it's definitely like an older concept that a lot of the new kids don't get. Um, but I also think that things have generally speaking, with the exception of a few, things have gotten away from fams and moved into teams.
Yeah.
Uh, because people are so far away and spread out because of Glover's Lounge. They're really dope with each other. They really click. They don't get to hang out a lot in person, so they create these teams to be on together to get to have um, that camaraderie and that feeling of closeness. But they're not quite a fam. Whereas like to me, like realistically, what makes a fam is shit like PLO. We get together as often as we can, at
Oh
least a
yeah.
couple years. Like people fly out, we get houses, we kick it. Like we're together all weekend. Like that's a fam. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't. You don't just get on with like a tryout.
We
You
don't
have
just
to,
like have a chat where we send a bunch of memes in.
yeah.
That's not what the team is. That's not what the
No,
fam is.
like the fams get deep. Like we don't talk about gloving that often. Like in the PLL chat, like we shoot the shit. Like we talk about our daily lives, work, what people are working on for like their side projects or like side hustles. We like it's straight up like it doesn't even feel like we're a gloving like fam. Like we are just a fam because
Yeah,
that's what we are.
it's a collective. It's an artistry
Yeah,
collective. I
yeah.
could see Photon as a legacy fam. They have the rep. They just don't have the traditions of a legacy fam. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. Yeah, Photon is definitely someone I'd throw
Oh,
up there.
absolutely.
Uh,
Definitely. They just have the right. There's a few things that keeps them almost out of that category.
yeah.
Like just rocking other, fam tags, stuff like that. Like for them to be a true legacy fam, you really can have crossover between like them and Lords or them and PM, like stuff
PLL.
PLL. But they're a phenomenal fucking
Oh yeah,
tag.
they're
Like
probably one of the best tags out there that you
yeah,
can
like
get. That
straight
you
up,
could
like
get.
they are
Yeah.
top tier for sure, and I will never like think otherwise. Like there's nothing that can make me think otherwise with who they have, um, and what they do for the scene as a whole, and have done for the scene as a whole is up there for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So we got Toad Boy asking, what's the difference between a fam and a team?
oh, I mean, see, like so with fam versus a team. Um, take for example. Like, what would be a good example? Because a lot of people would consider themselves like a fam. Um, it it can be kind of complicated for me. Like, I'm gonna leave this as like my personal opinion on what a fam is. A fam is a group of people that, whether you gloved or not, like if you drop the gloves tomorrow, like just said I'm done, like I don't want to do this shit no more. I don't feel like throwing light shows. Like, those are the people that would stick by you, hit you up every day, talk to you about your work, how your personal life is going. Like, if you tell them you're having a hard time or you're down or you're sad or whatever, like they're gonna be the first ones to pick up that phone and call you. The fam isn't about the gloving; it's about the connection. Like,
Right. So I would dare to say if like a good 70% of your interactions with these people revolve solely around gloving and the atmosphere within the GL, then they're probably a team.
yeah, definitely. A fam's gonna get together no matter how far away they are from each other, and kick it. A couple times. Like, they're gonna like you're gonna these are the people that you're willing to, like, straight up give the shirt off of your back for.
Right. Right.
Like like it's um like a fam is, like, it's really hard for me to explain. Like, I'm sure Jesse, who's in the chat right now, who says he knows the answer, but for those who don't, obviously has a very solid answer for this question. I definitely want to hear what it is. But for me, like, it's all of those things. It's literally like they're your brothers, they're your sisters. You treat them the same way that you do your flesh and blood. Like,
Right.
it's bigger than gloving. Like, it's bigger than DJing. It's bigger than any of that side shit. Like, it's fam. Like, that's really the only way I can explain it.
Yeah, and I think really the confusion that comes between fam and team is really just the frivolent use of the word fam to
Yep.
describe just close connections. Right? Oh, we've been hanging out for a month and we smoke together all the time. You're fam. Like
Right.
the more often that people use fam, the less it has a serious meaning when it comes to describing the difference between you hanging out with someone that you'd give your life for and someone that you share an interest with.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, to make it like a simple answer, that's definitely the way to go about it. Um, oh, Jesse just answered. Let's see what he said. The
Yep.
difference between a fam and a team is simple. A team, you go and look at, as a person. Oh, let's see. A team, you go out and look for people to add solely on their skill and them as a person. You literally hunt for other skilled people, whereas a fam is more you get on for who you are as a person and not them as a person. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Like, that's definitely it. Like, you could literally be, I don't want to say, like, you obviously have to have a certain level of skill, but if you click with everyone on a fam well enough, like, you don't have to be the greatest clever in the world. Like, I'm straight up, I am proof of that. Like, I got on PLL. I am not the greatest clever in the world by any means. I have a solid set of skills.
Yeah,
um
dude.
like, yeah, Jesse, I do suck and I got on PLL.
Oh my
But, like,
god.
Um, no, like you don't have to be like the craziest glover in the world to get on like one of these spams. Like, you just have to click. Like, that's it. Like, you got to click with these people. You got to spend time with them. Um, like, you can't be at you can't just be about the light shows with these sorts of people. Like, you've got to really like
Yeah.
click. So, but no, it's being on a true fam is something that you really can't describe. It's just something you got to kind of experience, and I hope a lot more people, especially like some of the newer gen, really strive and try to find like one of these even like legacy fams that they click with. Like, don't be afraid to hit these people up or comment on their videos, or if you see them at like an FNL or a comp, like, talk to us, man. Like, we're just people, bro. And PLL specifically, we straight just kick it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like we steady kick it. Like, if you see us somewhere, we're probably not trading. Like, we're probably in the back shooting the shit, talking with the homies. Like that's it's just the vibe. Like, straight up. Yeah, Jesse said it best. We may not be down to trade, but always down to have a dialogue.
Pretty
Exactly.
much.
Like,
Pretty much.
like straight up, like if you go ask like some PLL fools to trade, you probably are gonna get a no. And it's not to be rude or like we don't know you. It's like we just don't really throw lights that heavy anymore. Like
No. No,
you might
most.
catch us on a goal, except you, Vex. You throw lights heavy. You had a line of 40 people at 4KC. That's not even front.
Oh man.
Walking around with you is walking around with like fucking the Brad Pitt of gloving, dude. You stop everyone. Like literally, like we were trying to walk outside of the smoking area and you got stopped like 6 times in 50 feet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I love
but
getting to
yeah,
meet people.
I feel like that's true with a lot of the like the legacy fans as it is though. Like they're not always down to trade, but um,
Nah, they're
yeah,
more trying to just have a good time and chill and vibe and like they'll more than likely talk to you about gloving if that's really what you want to have a conversation about. But I mean, you know.
yeah.
Oh shit. We
Oh,
got a gifted tier 1. Oh man.
dang the
4K.
toad to the toad.
Yo, setting my boy up.
That's
4KC was dank because y'all were here. Yeah, dude. I think
dude.
that it became an amazing, amazing experience when everyone was able to come together, which, you know, we didn't expect at first. Oh, shit!
2 times.
The boy did it twice, yo!
Hit him with the back.
Yo! It's lit too because I set up all those fucking notifications and they're like a bunch of different videos of raccoons doing different things because I love raccoons.
A bunch of pandas doing shit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Dang.
Wow.
Wow.
Eight, bro. My God, going
Ball.
wild style on us.
I've dropped
Jesus.
I dropped 3 in Brian's sub like his channel like over the last couple like 2 weeks I think, but damn 8.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, bro. Did last night. Fucking blowing up the homies, yo. I appreciate the support. It means the fucking world, you know? It really does. And like, look, right there, that's the difference between family and teams, right?
Yep, big
He just
catch.
came through, popped in, immediately dropped 2 subs off the bat without even saying hi. Gotta love the brother, bro.
That's how he said hi, bro.
Yeah, I know. He was like, "Oh, just so you know, I'm here.
It,
Sorry."
he would have to come in making a grand fucking entrance. Like,
So, would you say that like the pursuit of being on a family and then achieving that what is part of what has kept you gloving as long as you have?
honestly, I would say no.
Really?
Uh, yeah.
Oh my
So
Lord, have mercy!
hold up. Holy shit! All right. Well,
Oh my God, dude!
Brandon would come in and just take over the whole fucking stream.
I know, dude. For real, what the fuck, dude? All of
True
these are
Filth
gonna keep
Lord
showing
status.
up for a minute.
True Filth Lord status.
Oh my God, dude.
Holy shit! He made it rain subs, bro.
For real, dude.
Holy crap.
Oh my God. Thank
But
you so much.
but yeah, like I was saying, dude, not I don't being on a fam and being in the pursuit fam is not what's kept me gloving.
Okay.
Um, I like to glove. Like I like gloving. I like the connections I get to make with people. the people I get to meet strictly just because I glove, with no matter really who I am or what team I'm on or if I'm sponsored or what, like um, it just really opens up a lot of doors for me personally because I'm not a sociable person. Like I don't go out of my way to talk to randoms
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in any way really. So gloving really gives me that like that icebreaker,
Okay.
be able to get to know people and talk to them and have them talk to me because it starts you with that common ground. Um, Now, with that being like, I never like there fams I wanted to be on and like being wanting to be on PLL. Yeah, definitely, I wanted to be on PLL, but I never wanted it to be me facing PLL. I wanted to just earn it. You know what I mean? Versus
Right.
like chasing it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because if you're chasing something, in my experience, like hard, especially in like gloving, if you're chasing a fam really hard, um, you almost come off as like depends on how you're doing it, but like you could come off pretty easily as like desperate
Yeah.
or almost like annoying
Yeah.
if you're not like like chill with it. Like there's some people in Glover's Lounge like um, that straight up like they're chasing certain things, and I'm just like, bro, it's kind of cringy. Like,
Well, it's right. You wear your intentions on your chest,
yeah,
right? And when you
yeah,
do that, it's not hard for anyone to pick out what they are and then say, well, we don't take people like that into our team.
yeah,
We don't take
exactly.
people like that on our fam. Like we can see very clearly what your intention are with getting the tag and putting a shirt on, and
Mm-hmm.
we're good.
Yeah. So I think wanting to be on it, be a part of something is great. I think you have to be walk a very fine line between chasing something and working to earn it. Like it's a very fine line,
Yeah.
and you can very easily fall to one side or the other. So I mean, if there's like a fan that like people want, I think they should definitely go for it and try to earn it. But don't be so diehard about it that you make yourself come off as like cringy or desperate or the only thing you want is that tag.
Yeah.
Uh, because that's very especially with like the older like the legacy fams dude like that's going to be a real quick turn off like to a lot of them because they'll see like they've been around long enough to see right through what you want
I mean,
and
they've
what
seen
you're
a
there
hundred
for.
plus people doing it.
Yeah, exactly, like there's so many people that are like I want PM, like I want PLL, like I want this, I want that, and like constantly just like well what team do you want to be on, like if you comment like 6 times on the same post that you want to be on this fan, like bro, like pump the brakes. Like
Yeah.
girls don't like when you're desperate, and gloving fans definitely don't like when you're desperate.
There you go.
Um,
Couldn't have said it better,
so
right?
it's yeah, I mean it definitely motivated me, but it's not why I kept gloving singularly. Like that wasn't the only thing that kept me gloving for sure.
Okay. Let's see. Super easy to support your friends. Absolutely, man. Shout out to that. Black Weather Man. It's going rain. For real, always gotta support the homies. Yes, sir. We didn't trade the first time we met, Chris, and you were fam right then and there. See, it doesn't even matter. You don't have to even throw lights. First time meeting Chris is like seeing an old friend. It really was, dude. The first time that because really the first time we met was 4KC, right?
Yeah, when I got to Mario's house at like midnight,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So meeting you, it was like I had known you forever already, and like
like
I had kind of
I
known
just
you
said,
for a long time.
yeah, it was just like we said what up across the room and like continued to chill. Like
Yeah.
so it's that's the difference between fam and like you don't even have to be on the same gloving fam to be fam. Like me and Freebie dude, like that's the boy. Like
Oh
straight up,
yeah,
that's
dude.
me and Lala. Like you don't like have to be on like a fam to be fam at all. Like you just gotta vibe. Like you just gotta be you. That's the easiest way, like I can say, to get respect and have people recognize you. Um, and be chill with you and get to know like these legendary like lovers that you see all the time like Brandon and Lala, like who we've got in the chat, and Freebie and these fools that have
Oh
been
yeah.
around doing all this stuff that have like a name for themselves is be yourself. Like don't fanboy over these like over people and like just approach them like they're people. If you start to fanboy, they're gonna be like, oh
Yeah, it's like, I mean, how would you feel if someone was fanboying over you? It's just, it's hard to take, sometimes. And like,
yeah,
I think after some of these glovers have been accustomed to it for a long time, they've kind of learned how to calibrate themselves to deal with it. But that being said, they're not if they have to calibrate themselves away from being their normal self, then you're already fucking up.
oh by far. Like if they've got to
And
feel like in the like what these fools are saying in the chat right now, um like you got to just be real. The fanboys are the cringiest part of gloving. Like it's kind of awkward feedback. Like OMG, you're Mirage. I've seen all your videos. What do you think of this? That's like that is all the worst things about being a good glover.
yeah.
Like those are like I could not imagine having people do that to me like at all. Like it would. That's why I couldn't be like somebody at that level because I couldn't handle it. Like I would not be very receptive to that.
Yeah.
Like I would straight be like, and I'd be a recluse. I wouldn't go out anymore. I wouldn't fucking go to these events and these cons because I just wouldn't want to be bothered on that level. Um,
I've been
and
guilty
yeah,
of that at times.
dude, don't get me wrong. Everyone has at a certain point. Like when I asked JBake before I really knew him at that event if he wanted to trade, I kind of fanboyed and I fucked that up. Um, but once you start to kind of realize like they just want like we just want to be treated like people, like calling people by their Glover name, like in person, like Mario's like
It's
they're saying like
cringe.
someone calling Brandon Mirage is straight cringe. Like
Yeah.
Jay Bacon makes sense because his name,
Okay, well, there are
is
people who they have nicknames almost before their Glover names, and it just kind of
yeah,
runs as a
it just
nickname.
runs in. Yeah, definitely.
As well as I understand, like, okay, like you have to take. I think for people who are watching this, they need to anyone who watches it outside of the people who understand the conversation already, you need to take everything that's being said with a grain of salt, because although we're saying all of these things, that doesn't mean that I, as someone who has people who come up to me and talk to me, I still appreciate that, right? I still enjoy having people come up to me and talk to me and tell me that they enjoy my stuff personally. And that's just me. Maybe not everyone enjoys that. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Um, but there's a level of appreciation that you can show without being overbearing to the point where you're making me or someone else feel uncomfortable. It's like, how am I supposed to respond to you acting this way towards me, because
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not
definitely.
prepared for it.
um yeah, it's you definitely got to take it with a grain of salt. It's you got to like approach people like they're people. Like how would you want
Yeah.
somebody to approach you if you at your job, like, or in your hobby, like if you like I don't know, play frisbee golf and somebody comes up to you and it's like, oh, I think you're the best frisbee golf player ever or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you've got to really think about how you want to be approached and how you're approaching someone. Like
Yeah, I would say a good way and an easy way to kind of make it simple for people is like, take the glover away from their gloving name and kind of pair them with whatever real life job they have. Because
yep,
I think it's a lot easier to walk up to me as a commercial AC tech and talk to me about something random that we may both have an interest in than it is to walk up to the IGC champ and fucking like
heavyweight champion of the world.
like, if you're just looking at these people like normal people, like they are with their jobs that they work 9 to 5 in their casual day outside of when they're at this one gloving event,
Yep.
um, it makes it a lot easier to interact with them.
Oh, absolutely, dude. And
Lala,
it's not
yeah.
even necessarily about like easier to interact. It's we just like people want to just interact as people. They don't want to
It's
be linked.
natural.
Yeah, they want to be like if you talk to somebody like they're your homie, like it doesn't make things awkward. Like
Things become superficial when you start to attach all of the
their alternate identity or their Glover identity
right.
to them as a person.
It's like you're interacting with them through a Facebook post in real life.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
And I think a lot of people interact that way because they only ever get to interact through Facebook posts with these people, and that's just how they expect it to be in real life. But I think it's pretty clear for anyone that you're not generally the same person online that you are in person.
Well, I mean, again, that's a grain of salt sort of things. When it comes to gloving, like online especially, I would say like everyone I know is straight up like the same online as they are in person. It's really to me it gets into a gray, weird kind of muddled area when you do start to attach like someone just as a Glover to who they are every day.
Yeah, well, when
Because
I go ahead,
oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was just saying like it's like most people like especially if they're like just being real every day, like they're the same person they are online. It's when you start to add that Glover's Lounge, like the only time they people ever see their name come up is in Glover's Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when things start to get muddied and weird because the only time they get to interact with certain people is on Glover's Lounge. So when they see them as a Glover and not,
Yeah.
my homie who posts 60 memes about, the stupidest shit ever. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so
Well,
that's kind of where I think it gets a little cringy and weird.
yeah, definitely. And I think when I say like people act different online than they do in person is not necessarily because anyone is generally different. And when you have context outside of what a person is like, it's a lot easier to understand and interpret the things that they say online. But with the internet comes the shroud of the internet, and anyone who isn't able to personally interact with you can only interpret what you're saying through their own mental process, right? So if I see Brandon talking online about some shit about gloving and I'm just a random glover who doesn't know Brandon, I might think he is like some salty old glover who's just angry about people who are like sharing ideas and blah 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 this and that because they don't have any context of who Brandon is as a person. And when you have that context, it's easier for you to be like, oh, well, he's the same person online that he is out outside in the real world. But when you don't have that context, you kind of lose that, and people start to create their own personalities around you because that's what they see and what they can only take in.
Okay, yeah. I definitely see what you're saying, and yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. Um, yeah, no, that's 100% like on point for sure. When you say it that way, yeah, you're definitely right. That they do create like they almost put you on a pedestal.
Yeah.
As far as like creating who they almost want you to be,
Yeah.
based on what they see versus what you actually are.
Well, and
Um,
that's what the whole idea of like don't meet your idols, right? Because you'll be disappointed. And I don't think that it's don't meet your idols because your idols are they're shitty people. It's just because when you make them your idols, you create this perfect being that could never turn you down or make you upset, and you put all this emotion into them, and when you meet them in person and they don't immediately live up to those expectations because they're just another person looking to find what makes them happy, it's disappointing.
oh yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a phrase that I've never really liked because it's not exactly like broad enough to
Right.
include literally everything you just said. Um, I think the easiest way to not be disappointed with people and who you think they should be is to just not expect anything of anyone.
Yeah.
And that goes for all parts of life. Because when you start expecting things from people, you're going to definitely be disappointed. I think you just should go into, gloving, especially if you're newer and like looking up to certain people, knowing that, hey, like they're literally just like me. They started out similar to me. They experienced the same, similar setbacks and issues with concepts or this and that. And it was hard for them to get this down. And I think when you start thinking in things of in that sort of manner, um, it definitely helps a lot in understanding like the journey.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing that always kind of motivated me whenever I felt down on my own gloving, right? I would go back and I would comb through the videos of the people that I enjoyed the most, and I'd find all of their oldest videos and be like, "Whoa, well, look at this, right? They weren't always as good as I think, or they weren't always good as I know they are now. They weren't always throwing the concepts that blow my mind. At one point, they were throwing shit that's even worse than I am."
Oh
So
yeah,
you have to like be able to put that kind of perspective on things, and I think Glovers now are pretty blessed in that regard, as far as the fact that they kind of have this whole archive of knowledge to drag from with all of these different Glover careers. You can basically watch them from beginning to end, and
oh
some
yeah,
of them haven't even ended yet. So they have this like infinite barrel of knowledge to pull from, that a lot of people, especially in like your position and stuff, didn't have at all for a long time because there just
yeah,
wasn't content out like that.
yeah. That was definitely honestly like uh, I want to definitely address what Brandon said real quick before we go on that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
people attach positive personality traits to things they enjoy and don't understand that they are just seeing a sliver of the of that person's existence.
Yep.
So some lovers see a video that they like and think the person is a sick artistic creator when they could just be a dude on drugs with some weird ideas.
100%.
That is the epitome of gloving to me. Realistically broken down into like the simplest thing, to look at it from both sides. Like that is pretty much exactly what it was like exactly when it started. Is like some dude on drugs in a dark room with a bunch of other people, saw this dude doing some really cool shit, thought it was cool, wanted to do that too, and then kind of spread it around.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like Brandon's saying, dude. Like you can't take yourself or gloving too seriously. And what I mean by that is like, um, don't think you have to be this insane person that's constantly pushing boundaries or creating new shit or throwing the dopest slideshow. Like have like fun. Like if you're not
Yeah.
having fun, you're not going to create very easily. You're not going to have the easy time. Like if you stop having fun, like the biggest advice I could give would be to chill, take a break, like relax.
I
Like
mean, if you're not having fun, you're literally wasting your time. I mean, yeah,
absolutely.
let's you break down your day, you get up early, you go to work, and most people don't enjoy their entire day at work. You come home and then you take a few hours out of your day, and your relaxing time is going to be your time that you glove, and then you're frustrated the entire time you're gloving. Why? You're giving
Like
up all of your time to relax in the day to be angry
yeah,
about something that doesn't
dude.
even really matter.
The biggest advice I think I can give is like, dude, trust me, as somebody who's been at this for fucking 10 years now, dude, like the biggest thing I could say is like the minute I start feeling frustrated with the light shows I'm either trying to record or the concept I'm trying to practice, like I stop. Like I'm like I'm done for the day. Like I need to relax, I need to chill, I need to concentrate on something else. Um, you know, I need to like not be frustrated about something that's supposed to be fun and used to be fun and is
Yeah.
still fun in the right moment. Like
Yeah.
so and then I'll stop literally whatever I'm doing if it's a concept or recording or whatever, and I'll come back to it sometimes in like a week or two And bam, what do you know? Like I just needed to take a break. I'm grinding too hard. I was thinking about it too much. And that concept clicks, or that song I was trying to record to finally makes sense and it looks good. And, you know, that's like, I think that's like a lot of people just push themselves too hard and they start to lose the fun. And that's why you get these kids at like 2, 3 years in that all of a sudden are really good, but then disappear off the face of the planet because they
They
literally,
basically juiced themselves out.
yeah, they literally ground themselves down so hard, like they wore themselves out and pushed themselves so hard, even when they weren't motivated or weren't feeling it, to the point that they just don't even want to do it anymore. And to me, that's really sad because as somebody who's been around for 10 years, like I've seen so many people come and go. Like that's so much talent and so much potential, and we're such good people that they just ground the passion right out of themselves by working too hard and every day and trying to balance work and school and gloving and trying to be this top tier glover and be the next like Teddy or be the next Flo or be the next whoever, and they just took all the passion out of themselves and now they don't even want to touch a pair of gloves.
Yeah.
So that to me is like one of the biggest things that has to me is one of the most toxic of like online gloving, especially is there's almost this like subconscious push because of the amount of content there is and the amount of people there are putting out such good content and good concepts and this and that a lot of these newer people, while they may not experience like any toxicity directly at them, like as far as like, oh, get good or this show sucked or whatever, they literally experience a toxicity and trying too hard to keep up with people and not realizing that like my brain and your brain don't work the same. Like the way you think about concepts and the way I think about concepts are not the same. The way you do things are not going to probably click for me. The way I do things might not click for you. So it really hinders them in their own. I feel like ego kills a lot of gloving because they're not progressing as fast as the guy that started the same day they did, and now they feel like they're so behind that they just don't even want to try. Like,
Oh man, and that's like this is something that like honestly like makes me sad cuz I get it a lot and it's this is another thing that sucks about being a good glover. And like boohoo, right? I'm a good glover. I throw great shows. But people come up to me so often and they're just like, man, your shows are just so great. It makes me want to throw my gloves away or give my gloves away and just stop. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why? Like, the point of, like, I enjoy inspiring people. Like, that is, I'm literally doing the exact opposite of what I want to do if that's how you feel.
which is rough on you. I feel like when people say that, they don't realize the pressure they're putting on you and kind of the pressure or like the almost like the responsibility. It almost makes you feel responsible. Like, damn, this person kind of wants to quit loving because I worked hard to get to where I'm at. Like,
Yeah.
it, it's it, it's a rough thing to see, and I wish things weren't that way. But I get it. Like, I've said that jokingly before. Like, bro,
Yeah.
that show, I don't even want to glove anymore, dude. Like, but when you get that sincere person that's like, dude, like, you make me want to like just not because I can't be that good. Like, it's really sad that they think so lowly of their ability to get better, um, that they're not they can never reach that level, or understanding that people throw different types of shows, and that their show could literally do the same thing to somebody else. Um, and it's hard like to see that.
It
You
is.
want to feel like you're so good that you make somebody want to quit. You want to do the exact opposite, like you're saying. Um, so it's definitely a weird thing that I've noticed recently amongst newer people. Um, and even back when I was starting, like in 2012, people would like see a show and they'd be like, "Oh, like I don't even want to glove. Like that stuff's so good." And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like you've got so much knowledge, like such a big, wide variety of a knowledge base to pull out of. Like, why do you think you can't get that good? Or why do you why? Do you feel like um, I my skill level is outside of your ability range, um, especially when they've got the wide knowledge they do now.
Oh yeah.
Like it just, I feel like people think, and it's a huge problem. I mean, I'm even guilty of this in other aspects. Is like if I'm not instantly good at something, like this is the age of instant gratification, right? So if I'm not
Oof.
instantly good at something, I want to stop
Yeah.
sometimes. I mean, it's like, I'm not interested anymore. Uh,
Yep.
it's not necessarily that I'm bad at something. It's just like with this age and the internet and everything, and it seems like kids are getting good like in a month, 2 months. Fuck, RJ's what, a month and a year,
A
and
year and 4 months, dude. Oh my
like
god.
to be at that level is like in that short amount of time is crazy to me. And like Brandon's saying in the chat right now, skill and abilities equals dedication and time. Like when I was younger, dude, I got like when I first started, compared to my friends that have been doing it for a little bit before I got good, like good, really, really fast. Like compared to them, it was mind blowing. But that's because I had all the time.
Yeah.
Like I had so much more time. I had so much more. It was new. It was interesting to me. Like the things it was brand new. Therefore, you're going to spend a lot more time trying to figure it out, and it's exciting and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, and you slowly, like it's definitely like a graph, an intersecting graph of
Well,
you
it's the
know
curve, right?
excitement and everything is up here. So at the beginning, your excitement's up here. Your skill levels, not exactly great. So your skill levels here, and eventually, like down here, and eventually you're going to hit a crossroads where your skill might be better, but your passion for it goes down. And you can go one of two ways. You could let that upper graph carry you down and completely just turn you off from gloving, or you can, while your excitement goes down, you continue to increase your skill, and then let your excitement come back up when you're
It
finally
comes
that.
it
But there's
comes back
a
around.
point everyone meets where their excitement meets like their excitement plateau meets their skill plateau, and they got to decide one way or the other, like which
And,
way they're going to take it.
and I think I talked, I believe, with in the chat with Matt about that specific kind of phenomena where you kind of you hit your plateau and you stop getting the really quick level ups from learning new dexterity and learning new concepts and combos, and you start to have to grind on the really intricate hard things like being clean and having symmetry and isolation points and things like that, and stuff that isn't necessarily fun to practice. It's more just grinding and repetition. And
Yep.
you you have to make a decision in your mind whether or not that level of grinding is worth it for you. And if it is, then you'll eventually reach the point where you hopefully achieve your goal. And then, like you said, that excitement, the graph comes full circle and it goes back up, because then you're now achieving your goals and you're actualizing the skill that you wanted to have from the beginning, which is an amazing feeling, right? Achieving any goal is amazing, and especially one that is so long sought after.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's all about dedicating, and not letting your own ego get in the way of your ability to have fun.
Yeah.
We're realistically, we're just a bunch of kids who play with lights on our fingers. Like,
Yes.
like I've said it so many times. Like, we're kids, we play with lights on our fingers, dude. Like, it's first and foremost, you should always be having fun. And if you're not having fun, that's really where you got to kind of evaluate what to you is fun, or start to expand away from the concept you're doing now. Um, um, what's that?
I don't know. Apparently, my dad has some problem with Canadians.
um, oh shit. Yeah, so you got to kind of expand away from the concepts you're currently doing that aren't fun anymore into something new. Like when I
Yeah.
started the passion, like I started to explore like isolation. And like if isolations and stuff got boring, I would expand it into something else and then something else. And I'm I don't even know how to keep going because I'm distracted by the goddamn fucking thing.
I know, I know. Hold on, hold on. Let me read Brian's chat. So I get what you're saying about wanting to inspire, and to be honest, you can't change that. You do the best you can, and that will cause some people to quit and others to grow. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, what I do and how that affects others is completely dependent on their interpretation of
Yeah,
what they're seeing. I can only do so much as far as influencing them to be inspired goes, and whether or not you're inspired by something or
discouraged.
discouraged. Yes, thank you. Um, is really up to you and your own ability to identify your skills and your weaknesses. Just like any musician puts out stuff out, and some people are inspired to create off that or give up entirely. There are producers I listen to that I know I will never come close to, but that's okay, and all I can do is grind my craft. Another thing is networking, creating with others helps speed that along. I accelerated in gloving by hanging out with people like Sode, Teddy, Loke, Gambit, Search. Yeah, creating these interconnections and webs and networking within your own community is what it really takes uh, to grow, because it's hard to be inspired when you're alone. And you can use the internet and all of its wonderful facets to grow as much as possible, but you could never grow as much as you can in person as you would in a Google Hangout call, right? It you can't lab in the same way. You can't work with the same field of depth. You can't get behind them and look at their hands and show them exactly how your hands look. It's just a 2D picture. Um, and with that comes limitations. And with those limitations they can stop growth in a lot of ways that being in person, it's like simple things, right, that you would have that it would take to get you to from where you're at to the next level. But the skill curve it would take to figure those out on your own versus the skill curve it would take to have someone quickly show you how to do them is insurmountably different.
Oh, by far. Yeah,
And that's
like those.
discouraging.
Yeah, it definitely can be discouraging. Like I can speak from experience. Like my growth was heavily stunted between my move back to Arizona when I moved away from California. On the simple fact that it took me a while to find the scene out here. The gloving scene was relatively small in comparison to what it was in like San Diego, LA. Being able to go to like San Bernardino on the weekends to like any literal event at NOS or anywhere. And find 10 glovers at any given point. You go to a festival, I mean, you're going to see 50, 60, 70 glovers total throughout the whole night. I mean, that's even like that's kind of small numbers too. Even like Hudson and Gotham, yes, B, dude, oh my god, those were the grimiest clubs and shows. Like, dude, I had so many good nights there because, dude, they were constantly packed with glovers. Like, it's straight up, like that's one of the ways I progressed so fast is because I get a show something that person wouldn't do would inspire me.
Yeah.
I twist it, turn it, figure something out on my own with it. Um, you know, like straight up, it's like that really helped me expand really fast. And then I moved back to Arizona. And straight up, like the community was really small, and I was gloving a lot by myself. And it made me really creative with what I already knew. Um, versus learning new stuff. But by the time I did find the scene here after like 2 years and 2 or 3 years and finally got to like know some people, bro, I was severely behind like what these fools were doing, like severely. Like I would give shows and they're like, dude, like that show's very like 2010, and I'm like, oh my god, it's 2014, like
Ooh.
shit, which isn't a bad thing. I
No,
really like,
no.
and I definitely still stick to it, but it definitely stunted my growth and my ability to be that good, like or not that good, but like to be better.
Right.
Um, so it's and even with watching like YouTube videos and stuff like that, it's really hard to expand your knowledge if your brain doesn't work a certain way. Like, so my brain doesn't work, for example, with tech very easily. Like, I don't understand how to make certain things um, not necessarily like happen or whatever, but like to expand on them in such an elaborate way easily. Like, I really have to grind and work and like think hard about how I'm going to like expand on like, a simple dial, or, like what physical limitations I have with those sort of things. So
Mm-hmm.
like I don't incorporate them in the same way other people do. Like, and that would like I have to grind a lot harder than a lot of people do for tech. Mostly because like I got so stuck for like 3 or 4 years in flow type shows like
Right.
figure eights, um, like straight up like it was a struggle, dude. But it was one I was happy to have because me personally, like my style I go for is I go for like a very hypnotic, like draw you in, like literally you're gonna forget that you're at like a rave right now. And when I'm done, you'll fucking remember you're at a rave.
Yo.
Rather that like power, like mind blowing, like craziness. Like I'm here to take you like in and then like give you back to the rave and like be like, dude, like you know what I mean?
Release you back into reality,
Yep.
right? Insane. Can
Yeah.
so many Glovers festivals back in the day. 2010, there were literally hundreds of Glovers. Yeah, see, that's fucking
On
crazy.
Wonderland, yeah, that year was nuts, dude. That was insane. You couldn't walk like 3 or 4 feet without like running into a Glover.
That's so
Straight.
crazy.
There's so many. Um,
Yeah, times aren't the same.
yep, not at all.
Kind of
Which is
probably.
kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting, but also there are a lot more restrictions on it now, right?
Oh, by far. Like after that whole incident at EDC, um, like gloving took a really hard hit, and that really shrunk the scene down quite a bit. And then so many events started modeling after EDC that weren't even the same type of festival or size of festival,
Right.
um, which really hurt the gloving community as a whole as far as going out. Um, and then there was just not that many glovers going around, and now people really aren't into glovers in that aspect. You know what I mean?
No, they're kind of like a subsect of people that are kind of put to the side, and most people kind of like walk around them instead of being like the attraction, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, did you see the guy with the hand lights?"
Like straight up, I went from giving, like 30, 40 shows a night back in the day at like the Hudson or Gotham or, these big festivals, um, to giving like, I'll maybe get like 10 or 15 people that'll come up and ask for a show anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Brennan. Yeah. Brandon's got a good point on that too. It was a combination of the Rave Act,
EL
EL marketing
marketing,
it to children, and the general rave scene changing its perspective on flow arts in general.
one hundred
Um,
percent.
yeah, yeah. I think honestly, EL marketing it to children really hurt gloving as a whole, um,
Yeah,
in a certain aspect. But so here's kind of what I mean. Like, um, for those people that go to rate, like to the public eye, with EL going on Shark Tank and having Lili on, who's was so young even still then, like that really took a taste of it from people in the rave scene. They're like, oh, gloving's for kids. They saw it on Shark Tank. My name's Chad. I'm going to go to this rave this weekend, and obviously gloving's for kids. So I don't really want to be a part of that.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I
It's
mean.
definitely difficult.
Um, it definitely didn't hurt it in the aspect of broadcasting it and making it bigger and more talked about, and you know getting generally a lot more, like a lot more people to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
that aspect, but it was a double-edged sword, I feel like.
Well, the problem is it's the difference between creating like shock value patrons and creating people who become really dedicated glovers, and essentially the route that they went was the shock value and getting these like a bunch of moms on TV to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get my kids to light up gloves because they're the cool thing, and I think they're interesting or whatever, right?" And
Right.
then those people play with them for a day, a week, a month, maybe, and then they never touch them again. Instead
Yep.
of reaching a community that is full of people who are maybe already dancers or flow artists and other things. They do poi, they staff, they hoop, they do whatever, and they have a much higher percentile chance of taking gloving and then running with it and that being their main thing from now on, and now that
Yeah.
that's a serious customer.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's yeah, it's weird. It's a double-edged sword for sure. And like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, EL was smart with the way they marketed it. Like, market it to the kids so that their moms can buy them light up gloves. Market it to the dancers. Like, they tried to market it to everybody. But I think for like public view and the way public kind of viewed it, it definitely they tried to better the image, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But instead of making gloving look cool, they kind of made it look dorky
Yeah.
on that specific like episode of Shark Tank. Like, and that's what Shark Tank does, dude. They make your idea and they make it look fucking corny.
Yeah, pretty
I've seen
much.
a million great ideas on there, and they all have to sound so corny because they're on the show. Like,
Yeah.
um, gloving kind of lost its cool factor at that point. Like,
Glo-
it's rebellious. Like
Oh, look,
that.
look, this is perfect comment from Brandon. Gloving had this cool feel to it because you had a bunch of popular rave kids and drug dealers doing it, and then the younger generation came in and you couldn't flex that perspective anymore. I think
Yep,
that definitely has a huge play into it because, I
it
mean,
did.
gloving has extremely deep roots in drug culture. And,
Oh, dude, absolutely.
whether or not that has to be the reality for gloving in the future is, it's up in the air, right?
It's I personally don't think it has to be the reality for gloving. I
No,
think that people trying to completely dismiss and bury the fact that that's what it was and
it's
that's what it's tied to
disingenuous.
is I will fight people on GL time and time again that say
Yeah.
this isn't like it's an okay, it's an art. I will grant that 100%.
Yes.
But when you tell me it was an art and it didn't start by trying to fuck up some kid who's on drugs in a dark room while you're also on drugs, I'm gonna call you on your bullshit.
I
Like,
mean, let's
it,
let's look at all of the artists over the centuries and their influences. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that a lot of them were influenced by outside
yeah,
stimuli, for lack of better term.
whether
Um,
it's alcohol or whatever else, like they're
it's just that's
constantly
how art
inspired.
is.
Yeah, it's always been a factor in art, and I will personally attest that it's easier to be creative when you take those roadblocks of self consciousness, of overthinking, of those sorts of things out of your mind and just do shit because you want to do it.
Yeah,
And whatever it is that you're drinking or doing whatever with is letting you be that and taking those roadblocks out for you.
yeah,
So it's definitely an art, and I'll be 100% like I'll support that. Don't get me wrong, but trying to take away from its roots and its history is just totally bogus to me, and um, it's definitely kind of not paying homage to the people that came before you and let you see this thing that you really like to do. Um,
yeah.
I don't condone going out and doing all that stuff if you're not of age or if it's illegal or whatever, but also be aware that that stuff did happen in the scene. It was a big contributing factor, and it was there. Like, it's not
Yeah,
something you have to do, but it's a part of the culture. And as much as we want to kind of wash, some people want to wash that away or whatever, like,
yeah.
I get it. It's not good for the public eye and it's not a good look or whatever, but neither was raving.
No, and
Like, deep in the 90s, dude, like if you were raving, like you were a terrible person and like to like the normal
Degenerate.
everyday suburban housewife. You know what I mean? Like you were terrible. Like you go to raves. Like you must be like a drug addict, this and that, and um, you know. So it's something that everything in rave culture comes from that stigma and that central theme of taking pills in a dark room and listening to electronic music. But obviously, the rave scene's grown out of just that. Gloving's grown out of that. Poi's grown. Poi was brought into gloving from that's a whole nother history topic. But um,
Yes.
like it's everything can come away from that, but it's always smart to remember where the roots were in it. Um, just to have the knowledge, like respect what it is now, but be aware of what it used to be. And you may not like it, but you definitely have to acknowledge it.
Yeah. It's used to be intimidating to see those fools together with brand new shirts, clean black shades. They legit looked cool and gave off an energy. Yeah, EL had a good idea for a business perspective, but as someone who's been gloving for over a decade, it wasn't what I came from. Well, yeah, and see that was the big problem, right? Is it was intelligent what EL was doing as far as marketing to more people and bringing more people into gloving, but what it wasn't doing was marketing to the already large group of people who were gloving, and that is one of the main stakes of gloving is the personability of it and the fact that back in the day Brian did used to glove at all of the shows and he did used to trade with people, and it did used to be about what was going to make the glover the most happiest, the fellow glover, instead of what was going to bring in the most people that weren't glovers and make them glovers. And when they started to focus on that, they started to lose the support of the actual gloving community. And then when the shock value patrons flopped and gave up on gloving after a week or a month of doing it after they saw it on Shark Tank, EL was then left with no support.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Like when it became a money grab and less of a passion for, I mean, multiple companies tried to do it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
but when it starts to become, when you start a company for anything and they go away from being passionate about it to being a money grab, you lose the support of the people that made you into what you are.
Right.
Whether that's shoes, gloving, skateboarding, I mean, literally everything. Um, so it's definitely been a weird transition for sure, especially with EL. I remember that Skittles video, the first gloving video to ever hit 1 million views. I remember when that gloving video was on Liquid Emotions page. Like, so it's
Oh, liquid
definitely
emotions.
interesting.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I remember the days being told I had AIDS or would get AIDS when I would party back in the day. Same people
yes,
3 years later.
dude.
OMG, ETC is life. Oh my god. Remember the rumors of the needle pits at raves? Jesus Christ.
Rumors of the AIDS crew, bro.
Oh my god.
I remember those days. Shit was wild back then, bro.
Even their name came from a set OLS had back in the day.
Yep.
Damn, I believe that. OLS started a lot of things.
My first ever set was from Liquid Emotions.
Yo, Liquid Emotions was some serious back in the day shit. I remember when I had first started and like the small group of people that were still gloving within my school were around, and the best glover there, Hunter, was actually sponsored by Liquid Emotions, and it was like so crazy for me to like think about it, and I was like, holy shit, man, like this guy's already sponsored by a company for this shit, and like what the hell? Like, what is this? And like back then, like Liquid Emotion sponsorships were basically like kind of bullshit, so it didn't really matter. But it was still so cool to me at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. It's Liquid Emotions was definitely some heavy hitting shit right when they first started. Like back in the days of full Inova sets, like was the standard. Um, like the bulbs, just nothing but bulbs, 7 color, rainbows, or
Mm-hmm.
all your ribbon bulbs and all that stuff. Like how far we've come is crazy.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
I'll admit is like even like as an old head, I still can't get into nanolights. I really don't like them.
So
It, they're too small in my opinion. They're not very bright. And as me personally, I like the feeling of some weight and knowing the light is there. Whereas with like nanos, don't feel like there's anything there on like the tips of my fingers.
interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
I think that has a lot to do with me coming back from starting with Inovas and Micromaxes and Glove Maxes and dots and photon freedoms and like lights that were bulkier,
Right.
that had weight to them, and you could feel when you were doing stuff with them, and there was that weight to your hands. And now it's like that weight's gone, so I'm not sure how to or where my hands kind of are almost. You know what I mean? It's a hard feeling to explain.
No, I can understand that.
Um, but yeah, it's nanolights I think are great, and it's awesome for like these new gen guys that are coming in that don't know about old lights, and they've got these tiny things that fit on the tips of your fingers that we used to dream about. Um, but now I just I can't do it.
Isn't it funny how you dream about it and now that's reality? You're like, yeah,
Yeah, I think
uh,
the biggest turnoff for me is the brightness. Like they're just not very bright.
no,
Um,
most of them.
like you lose a lot of flair with your color sets.
Yeah,
They look like the color palettes and everything look really pretty. I just feel like without that set, like that certain amount of brightness there, you're kind of losing out on some stuff.
yeah, no, absolutely. There's a certain well, it creates more of an atmosphere when you have these bright lights that almost drown out all of the surrounding light around you.
Yeah,
Versus when you're getting a show and it's like the light that's shining on the glover in the background is more distracting than their hands in front of you because you can't
exactly.
almost even see their lights.
Right, and that's especially true, especially for like events, when you've got the stage that's got all the lighting going on,
Yeah,
and all the people with blinking, glow in the dark shit that's walking around you that just are wearing that as their outfit and all of that. And your lights, if they're not very bright, can easily get lost in the whole hustle and bustle of the rave. Like,
yeah,
so that too is one of those things like if I like you lose out on yeah, you just lose out on that experience, that thing that kind of draws you into a show. If your lights are just too dim, why do you think people are so on top of changing their batteries all the time? Like I used to be so on top of changing my batteries, like after a night of gloving, because I would give so many shows that my
yeah,
light would be super dim, and I was like, nope, nope, I got to change these. They're not bright. I need to change them, or else like people just won't be interested. Like that's just kind of how it is.
yeah, yeah. Uh, OMG lights bit was the smallest light. Don't need to go smaller than that. Yeah, they're basically the same
Yeah,
size as like E lights, right? Bits.
yeah, I think they're pretty close.
The casing was like bulkier by design because it was like more of a cylinder and had less of the curved shape that Elite had. But other than that, yeah,
A glove max almost.
yeah, yeah, bits were fucking dope. Oh, ooh, ooh, um, OMG lights is another interesting. Oh, actually, okay. So I wanted to ask you.
Yeah,
So you dislike magic stretch whites?
yes, very much so.
Expand on that because you're one of the few people who continues to use slims.
All right, dude, I actually funny story. All right, so I actually used to not use slims at all.
Mm-hmm.
I used to use Magic Stretch. Um, I used to use Liquid Emotions whites. I used OLS's lights. I used to use whoever's lights I could get a hold of. Right.
Right.
Um, So Sean actually, biometric, who's on PLO with us,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I use Slims, and that dude's got some crazy alien fingers, right? I was like, oh, those look kind of dope. Kind of want to try those out. And I literally put them on, dude, and I was like, they're light, they're snug. Um, they don't. My biggest pet peeve actually with whites, especially recently, is that when I do a finger roll, they're kind of like the whites can be kind of bulky and thick. So
Yeah.
as I'm closing everything back up, they'll rub together.
Mm-hmm.
And that rubbing together feeling that they have is like nails on a chalkboard to me.
That fucking.
That like that like tiny little scrape from like your standard whites, just like nails on a chalkboard, dude, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Plus, I feel like with how snug they are on your fingers, it really can accentuate like as close as you can kind of get to like a finger show look with lights on your hands.
That makes sense. That makes
It
sense.
looks a lot cleaner, in my opinion. Um, I love the way shows look in whites. I like getting shows with either or, but I just can't. I
Throw
can't
with
use.
them.
I can't. It's and though it sucks is people like Amazing. I don't think carries them anymore. Um, I don't think a lot of companies carry them anymore. So I have a stock of like 5 or 6 pairs that I just know will be the last ones I ever get to use. So
No.
unless another company starts making them again, but I don't think so. Funnily enough, you asked me about the Slims because not that long ago, I want to say like a year ago, um, I somebody posted a poll on Glover's Lounge asking what kind of whites they preferred. And there was, Magic Stretch and, purple tags, red tags up there. Slims were up there. And holy shit, dude, Slims won by like a fucking landslide, dude. Like 70 or 80 people voted that they use Slims. And I couldn't comment and be like, if all of you motherfuckers use Slims, how am I the only person I see posting videos with them? Like, straight up, there's like 80 people that said Slims. And I was like, nope, no. Some of you are lying for sure. Don't say it to be cool. You don't actually use Slims. Like,
Fuck y'all black tips. Man, that's a dangerous comment to be thrown in Twitch, bro. Hi, Vin. How you doing?
black. Or are you talking of?
White tips.
We're talking about blackouts.
Yeah, I know. I know. White tips.
All right. I mean, do you play it?
Yeah, do you, bro?
Whatever floats your egg.
Oh my good God, is he buoyant? Um, I always liked Slims. I think Slims got a lot better when they started making mediums and smalls, right?
Yeah,
For a long time, they were just
yeah.
large, and you
When
just
they were
had to
young,
wear.
I really like them because they would stretch out real fast, especially
Yeah.
large. Like um, in like a magic stretch, you were definitely not a large lens. So they would stretch out really fast. As soon as they started releasing mediums and smalls, dude, like they're definitely a lot better. I mean, I can use one set of slims for like an entire, 2 days at a festival. Um, like they won't stretch out. I mean, they'll get dirty because obviously, but like
Yeah.
they don't for stretch. Um, and they don't get all the stupid little fuzzies on them and shit.
I was just about to say, one, I miss you too, Vin. Two, what's the ratio of like how dirty they get versus like regular whites?
Regular whites, personally, I feel like they get way dirtier because it's way more obvious. The cotton's a lot thicker, and like when you're getting up and stuff, like if you're not careful to take them off, like I feel like normal whites attract a lot more dirt. Slims get just as dirty, but it's not as obvious because the cotton's not so thick. And it's a lot more elastic actually in there than it is cotton. So you're able to kind of like you'll get some like black like brown spots on like the tips, but like they stay white way longer, like for real. Like I've taken them to a weekend at a festival, and like my homies will be like, we'll be at the same festival and they'll be like, oh, my whites are so dirty. And I'm like, I could actually probably get away with using these another day. Like,
Nice.
I'm going to stay white longer because it's not as much cotton. They use a lot more of like the elastic
Right.
in there
Right.
and pull back on the cotton a little bit. Um, yeah. And
A
oh,
little
like Mario,
polyamor.
if, yeah, like a polymer. If you hit, like I do this too, wash your hands before you lab and keep them clean. Um,
That
but
makes
like,
sense.
even if you don't do that, like, polyester. It's a polyester. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
to dirt. Mario threw that out there, but so yeah, they stay clean way longer. Like it's awesome. I spend less gloves now, and I'll probably spend even less because it'll be hard to find them.
Yeah, that is true. I used to glove with only slims when I was sponsored by Futuristic. Yeah, I remember that time. Merc with blackouts, Buddha with blackouts, Cushman. Yeah, dude, there are some people that will murder using blackouts, no doubt.
Yeah,
But it's a certain style.
very certain.
Um, so I feel like this isn't something that is touched on in gloving a lot anymore. It's not really as, I guess, prevalent. What are your favorite slash how do you feel about like colored casings and things like that? Because I think they really
I
affect.
love colored casings. I love colored casings. Not even gonna lie. know what? Know what people don't even real like think about anymore is we used to have colored diffusers, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Green, yellow, red colored diffusers. Like those things, like I like them, but the thing, colored casings and colored like that sort of stuff is you gotta be really careful and really know color theory well.
Yeah.
Play with that really well. Um, like right now, for example, I've got those custom Sharingan
Oh
red casings from
yes, yes.
Study. So like I love those things, but you got to know what colors are going to look good with that, and not make your casing look like hamburger meat.
Yeah.
Or like like because if you've got like some weird color that's not going to blend right with that red or that blue that you're using, or a yellow casing that you're using, like it could look really weird. Like you've got to know color theory to know that if I use um, like a blue light with this yellow casing, I'm going to get green.
Hmm. Man, I used to
Like,
do that all the time.
see,
I used
like
to do that all the
that's the
time.
thing. Like, when colored casings are used correctly and well, and so the person understands color theory, they are phenomenal. But when you
Yeah.
just throw together whatever set inside of whatever color casings, it really can take away and distract from what could otherwise be like a really good show or a really good set. You've got to really find, and I think that's something in general that's not as important lately in gloving in general is color theory.
Yeah.
Back when chromas and all that stuff first dropped, color theory, everybody's like, oh, color theory, like fucking color theory, oh, like, you know what I mean?
It
Um,
matters.
yeah, like, oh, so many sets, so many tints, like, it's still just as important, but people seem to just kind of, randomizer, like,
Yeah, pretty much. People were just closing their eyes and clicking through colors before randomizers were even a thing on chips.
absolutely, that too. Like, color theory is super important though in the way that you build a set. Otherwise, it could look just really awkward.
Yeah.
Um, I used to spend more time building color sets than I spent actually labbing.
You
Like,
spend like 40 minutes programming a whole bunch of color sets and then you put them on for 5 minutes, glove with, do like a finger roll with all of them, and then you take your gloves off and put them to the side. You're like, all right, I'm done for the day.
yeah,
Also,
what
Pilgrim, you're thinking of Luna. Luna was the color that people freaked out over.
Una was fire.
Yeah, Luna.
It was just a silvery blue. It's not even that crazy.
Yeah, no, the reason Luna popped off is basically the same reason that red silvers were so sought after. It's just that icy blue silver is like a really crisp color on the LED diode, and
Yep,
it's hard to match.
it's almost like what are those bulbs? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Cryos.
Yes, dude.
That icy blue color is so fucking clean.
Oh man.
So yeah, no, I know why that color popped off, and I still use Luna.
Yeah.
I think in my Spectras. It's not called Luna. It's called something else now.
Every time I want to record with a bulb set, so much effort goes into putting the set together that by the time I'm done, I'm over lights. Yeah, I could see that being an issue for a lot of people.
It
But
is, but
pers-
it's worth.
I was gonna say personally, the payout that you get with bulbs, in my opinion, is just too worth it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, the
Yeah,
camera is phenomenal. I love my Spectras for the only reason I really like Spectras and like programmable lights is the ease of use when you want to change your set at a festival. Like having 6 sets in one set of lights is fucking sick. And I
yeah,
can get exactly what I want out of those lights and their capabilities every time.
yeah,
With bulbs, it's a lot more work, a lot more color theory, which honestly, a lot of like the older heads have a huge advantage over. Like some of the best sets you see on these programmable lights are from older heads
yeah,
because they 3, 4, 5 years on just bulbs and studying what colors look good together. How to mix. You've got two of each bulb, and you've got enough for a whole set, but you only have two of each, and you know how you can put those lights in a set together to make them look good.
right,
Like
right.
there's so much more color theory to bulb sets and making them original and not just 10 of the same bulbs like sick. Like you've really got to delve into what's going to look good, how the spacings are going to play out, and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I, especially in all of the recent years, have gotten a lot of compliments on my ability to create sets and whatnot. But a lot of my sets that are programmable, which I don't use a lot of anymore, were all just color combos that were based off old bulb sets that
Yeah,
have been made. You know.
yeah, dude. Real Bad Glove Sets is a group to get a lot of good inspiration. Like,
Yes, it is.
and I love that it's kind of like a low key group
Yeah.
that a lot of people venture into. But that is a place where like I got a lot of good ideas for glove sets based off of bulb colors and stuff, and they never look the exact same, but
Nah.
it be a really nice starter. Dude, let me tell you, I think it's funny how you're approaching gloving. You're like the Benjamin Button of gloving, like um, because you're regressing back. Not, I don't even want to say regressing. It's more of like progressing into bulbs, which are older, um, and you're getting into staying like we were talking about the other day. Oh my God, my dogs need to shut up. But the other day we were talking about how you've kind of gone back to that 2012, 2013 flow.
Hmm.
And that's really interesting because most people move away from that
Yeah.
versus moving towards it. And I know you started right around then.
Yeah.
So you're used to that level of flow and shit and that type of flow. So it's really cool to see you kind of regressing back to that sort of thing and that aspect of gloving for sure.
I appreciate it. It's something that I'm very interested in, and like kind of reiterating the old moves and putting them because there are actually a lot of moves that don't work by today's standards, or like I've gone back and I've pulled moves out and like they don't fit into my rule sets that I use now for to make my shows look a certain way.
Right.
So like I can't even alter them to look correct. But it's definitely been an interesting process to kind of pick and pull all of these different moves from the old subset and see what does and doesn't translate into a new stylized version of an old show.
Yeah, which I think is like I was saying when we first started is something I hope a lot more glovers really aim to do is to take and like watch those true OGs like Wongtong and Furion and Influenza and Grey Goose and Dunzo and Mystic and all those types and Rockstar and all those types of fools and really see the kind of moves they're doing and see if they can modernize them. Like take old stuff that nobody does anymore and make it look new. Like
Yeah.
make it new because that in and of itself is like you're creating, you're expanding on and creating a different type of that same concept, and it's gonna look crazy. Like it's gonna look crazy to so many people that don't even know what that move was or ever saw it.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and there's so many moves like that that it's kind of like ridiculous. Like I'll be giving shows like, and people are like, "Oh, what was that move?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've been doing that for like 8 years. Like it's interesting. I've literally taken like almost the same show I've had for 8 years because my shows realistically have very little like tech in the sense of like what people would consider tech nowadays. But I've taken almost the same show since like 2010 and just reworked a lot of my concepts into
Right.
new ways and just slowly tried to modernize them.
Right.
Um, so that's like it's not impossible to literally do the same shit but different.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you feel stuck, just do the same shit but do it different. Like flip the like flip the concept on its head. Like literally, like do that shit upside down. Like turn it over here. Like you can make shit like new. You just gotta like change your perspective.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there are multiple perspectives that you have at any given time to choose from. People always focus on one, right? You're here, so I can only
Yeah.
go, I can only go here. I can only run along this. Well, that's not really true. And even if you're
Nope.
still moving along that, if you turn it here, it's a different move. It looks different
Yep.
entirely. Um, so that's a big thing that I think people don't look at a lot, right? Is you always have the access to multiple versions of the same thing. It's just whether or not you're able to see those. Um,
Yeah.
after
But like
going, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like when I'm learning a new concept, like or teaching myself a new concept or whatever, like I try to literally figure out all of my physical limitations to that. Like if I
There
keep
you
my hand in
go.
the same position, like okay, like cool. Well, I obviously can't go any farther back down this way, so how do I change that up? Like okay, I can rotate. I can bring it down this way, this way, this way,
Right.
this way. Like figure out the way your body literally limits you and you can't go that way with that concept, and then you can definitely expand upon how you're going to transition in, out, all of that once you understand the literal box your body has put you into with not being able to do certain things in a certain direction.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Uh, and I think this is something that I touched on probably in all three of my previous streams, and I will continue to touch on it because I think that these things are really important. Um, oh God, now I'm losing my train of thought. Fuck. What were you
Physical
saying?
limitation.
Yeah. Okay. Being in tune with your own body is going to be the difference between you being able to create new concepts and not, basically.
Yeah,
Knowing your own physical
absolutely.
limitations, how far you can bend your fingers in weird directions and whatnot, that's going to allow you to come up with different things and to expand within a repertoire that doesn't always portray you in a light of struggle, right? You see these
Yeah,
people who are constantly trying to do these moves and things that their hands physically aren't equipped for, and you can see how hard they're struggling to do it, and it's just like, oh man, it's rough
yeah,
to watch.
yeah. 'Cause they haven't expanded on where can my body turn? How does it turn? Like when I was learning tutting, like I literally would like pull up this angle here, and like I still suck at tutting, like straight up. Like I don't even lie. But, like, how do you like, you know, can I go this way? All right, can I go this way? Oh, that kind of hurts. I should probably stretch that. Like,
Right.
I literally can't go any farther this way. Okay, cool. So these are all the different ways I can, travel that same concept. Um, so straight up like you just literally like learning that limitation of your body naturally and then understanding okay I can't move that way, this way kind of hurts but I could probably stretch to get to that angle, and then these all work just fine is really going to break through a wall and make it look like you're not struggling anymore.
Yeah.
It's literally practice makes perfect, and like everyone's got their glover face and what they do and how they're gloving, and sometimes you just won't get over that. But if you don't want to feel like you're struggling, like the best way is to just practice, like straight up. Like I know I saw a post on Glover's Lounge the other day that was like, "How do you guys look like you just aren't struggling?" I'm like,
Oh, I did see this post.
practice, practice, like straight up. That's all it is. It's drilling. It's feeling comfortable in your own skin, like in your own body, in your own hands.
Yeah.
Um, that's the only way to do it. Like you can't getting rid of that struggle face is going to be not struggling anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. Here, let's see. After going through a random bowl bag, I'm not trying to glove after. Yeah, bro, random bowl bags can be rough.
Oh,
They can be
dude, don't
rough.
even get me started on
Work
a random bowl bag.
I worked at Orbit Light Shows for building sets, and I wanted to cry every time. Oh God, Vin, yeah, I remember when you worked at Orbit. Jesus. Yeah, I'm glad you're not doing that anymore either. He
Yeah,
is an unsung hero.
for real.
Resting bitch face is the best Glover face. Yeah, I would say so.
He is fuck, dude. Straight up. Like my Glover face is just like resting bitch face, hardcore.
My Glover face is like someone's blowing hot steam in my face, and I'm oh.
I never thought of it that way before.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like for some reason I like look up and then like I squint my eyes and I like try to see like the peripheral bottom of my vision.
Yeah, it straight up looks like yeah. You're always trying to. It looks like you're always trying to keep your face out of range of like a snake bite. Like you're trying to catch the snake, but you're always like just don't want to get bit in the face.
Oh, God, get him. Oh, yeah, yeah. I think that's about right.
Yeah.
Vex competing with shades on. Oh God, yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's a that's
Oh,
a that's a G. Oh shit, bro. We're actually at the 2 hour mark.
oh, geez.
So that's probably where I'm gonna call it because usually 2 hours is about where I keep these ones generally, so it's not like an overload of information.
Yeah.
But dude, this was fucking amazing, and I am so blessed to have you come on here. I think it was super amazing getting your perspective and your insight on gloving, being someone who's been gloving since 2010, a true, a real OG, one of
Bro, stop.
but seriously, man, your knowledge and your insight that you've been able to gain over the years is super valuable. And like I said in the post, I know that you're not one that is always in the limelight as far as the GL goes, but I think the stuff that you have stored away is it's crucial for the community. It really is.
I definitely appreciate it, dude. I definitely had a lot of fun getting to talk about loving history and perspectives and stuff more so than just um, specific like concepts or thought on concepts. Like that was definitely I think it's definitely a lot of important knowledge that the community needs and should definitely listen to in the aspect of kind of knowing how some of like the older heads are going to look at these newer guys coming in and what they hope they can achieve and what they want to see them do and want them to kind of understand and kind of figure out that way that relationship between like the newer gen and the older gen can stay like be a solid one
Yeah,
instead of the rocky one that it seems to be as of late.
yeah, I have to completely agree with that. And it's funny because with this subject being what it is, this 2 hour conversation is barely us shaving the ice off the top of a huge mountain of
Oh,
information to look
yeah,
at. So I'm excited to bring more people on that have your general perspective on it to continue to touch on these subjects and expand upon them so that people can really start to understand more deeply what the roots of gloving are and why they're important as we go forward in gloving.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for those too. Hopefully, we can help you get some of these old cats on. Maybe Jesse. I think honestly, I don't know if you know or have had experiences with Moflo.
Yeah.
Um, dude, you should have him on for sure at some point. That dude is an encyclopedia of. You want to talk about true OG? Like that fool for sure is a true OG. His
Hell yeah.
knowledge is insane. You might even want to have him on for a couple different like gloving history straight up.
That would be super dope. I'll definitely have to get in touch with him. And Jesse, I would absolutely love to have you on. Seriously, I would, man. I think you're another person who's got a lot of insight.
He's the other one.
Oh, yeah.
He's
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming through, and thank you everyone who stopped by. We got 10 people in right now, so much love to
oh
all of you guys. And seriously, biggest shout out to Brandon for dropping a rain cloud of fucking subs on me. It means the world to me. The support means the world, bro.
yeah.
Shout out to PLL because they're the realest. Now, you guys make sure to keep it real. Peace out.